Welcome everyone to the Ordinary Council meeting of the 16th of August 2022. I have one apology, which is Councillor Ma. She has approved leave. Members of the public gallery should note that the Council records and publishes Council meetings via YouTube to enhance the accessibility of Council meetings to the broader Wellington community. These recordings are also archived and may be published on Council's website for viewing by the public or used for publicity or information purposes. At the appropriate times during the meeting, members of the gallery may address the Council, at which time their image, comments or submissions will be recorded. Members of the public who are not in attendance at the Council meeting but who wish to communicate with the Council via the online web form should lodge their questions or comments early in the meeting to ensure that their submissions can be dealt with at the end of the meeting. Please, could gallery visitors, councillors and those invited online attendees ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in the silent mode for the duration of the meeting. Could we stand for the acknowledgement of country and prayer? We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gunai-Kurnai people, and pay respects to their elders past and present. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council, its councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for your guidance in our decisions so that the true good of the Wellington Shire Council may result to the benefit of all residents and community groups. Amen. Please sit down. Any declarations of conflicts of interest? Councillor Stevens.
I have two, one in relation to item 7.3 and the other one in relation to item 16.1.
Is there anyone else? No? Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Item 3.1, adoption of minutes of previous council meeting. Can I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the Ordinary Council meeting of the 2nd of August 2022.
And seconded by Councillor Ripper. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Happy with that, Councillor Wood?
Thank you.
Item 4, business arising from previous meetings, we have none. Item 5, acceptance of late or urgent items, we have none. Item 6, notices of motion, we have none. Item 7, we have 2 petitions to deal with tonight. Item 7.2, response to petition improve traffic and pedestrian safety in Maffra. Can I have someone to move that? Councillor Crosley. Sitting.
Feels wrong. I move that in response to the petition presented at the Ordinary Council meeting of the 19th of July 2022, Council 1 note that additional advisory signage has recently been installed at the McLean Street and Boisdale Street intersections. 2, note that the Maffra traffic and transport assessment being undertaken to support the Maffra structure plan will assess further opportunities for improvements at the McLean Street, Boisdale Street intersection, and that the recommendations from the Maffra traffic and transport assessment will be considered for future capital works allocations where appropriate. And 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to write to the head petitioner to advise them of Council's decision in relation to this matter.
And can I have someone to second that? Councillor Wood. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Anything further to add, Councillor?
Yeah, just a quick note to thank the community members that raised this concern, and also the response that it's been acted upon, and it's already had some positive outcomes, which hopefully leads to some improvement, but also it's be combined in the general assessment for the traffic in the future. So thank you to the staff and thank you for the community for raising it.
Thanks, Councillor Crosley. Item 7.3, response to petition, implementation of traffic management plan for the Nightingale Street, Yarram. I believe we have a conflict.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, I declare that I have a general conflict of interest at this council report due to a conflict of duty.
We'll just wait for Councillor Stevens to remove himself from the room. And can I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Crosley.
Nobody moved that. I move that in response to the petition presented at the Ordinary Council meeting of the 19th of July 2022, that Council 1 authorise the Chief Executive Officer to investigate existing road signage at Nightingale Street, Yarram, and provide improved signage if required in line with relevant standards and current practices. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to investigate and implement, where feasible, opportunities for minor parking and turning improvements near the water tower in Nightingale Street, Yarram. 3, note that the provision of a footpath along Nightingale Street, Yarram does not meet the criteria under Council's Urban Paths Plan or Network Connections Program, and that provision of a cost-effective functional footpath is likely to be unachievable. 4, note that Nightingale Street does not meet the Vic Road speed zoning guidelines for a speed reduction to 40 kilometres. And 5, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to write to the head petitioner to advise them of Council's decision in relation to this matter.
Do I have someone to second that? Councillor Tatterson, is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Crossley.
Yes, thank you again for the petitioners on this item. The reason being that they're part of the Hisco town down in Yarram, that there will be further mural placed on that water tower that's down there in Nightingale Street. And so therefore there's some provision, we expect some traffic to come down there to actually look at that. And so the provision of trying to improve it with signage to actually hope that that will mitigate any issues, but we'll certainly keep an eye on it and also explain to the community there's those restrictions to follow guidelines to be consistent across the Shire.
Thank you, Councillor Crossley. We'll get Councillor Stevens back in the room. Welcome back, Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mayor.
Item 8, invited addresses, presentations or acknowledgements. Do we have any of those? Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to acknowledge the amazing work of one of the council rangers, and his name's Craig Stewart. On Friday, the 5th of August, a friend of mine was walking her little dog home and it was severely savaged by a big dog, and its stomach was literally hanging out. My friend and her son witnessed everything, and by the time we got to the vets, we weren't sure if the little dog was going to live. Jeremy, the vet from the vets, performed amazing surgery, and the little dog stayed overnight. You could imagine that my friend and her son were very, very upset and traumatised, especially the young man, because he was holding the little dog. On Saturday morning, I rang Craig Stewart, and he came around in about maybe 10 minutes. His attitude was just unbelievable, and he got all the details he needed to get. But the thing that really stood out for me was he spoke to my young friend who's 15, and he explained to him that he would be traumatised, and he spoke to him at length just to settle him down, and he said, if you ever need to talk, you can call me. And I just thought that that was above and beyond. He was fantastic. So I'd really like to publicly say good on you, Craig.
Well said, Councillor Wood. It's always good to give our great teams some recognition. So thank you. Councillor Crossley.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to acknowledge that TAFE Gippsland has recently announced the appointment of their new CEO, and I'd like to congratulate Ms Laura McPherson on the new position of CEO at TAFE Gippsland. Ms McPherson has significant corporate and government experience, including leadership roles across transport and the education sector. Most recently, the interim CEO and managing director of Box Hill Institute, following 4 years in executive roles across the institute. Lorraine will formally take up her role on the 3rd of October, and we look forward to welcoming her to Wellington. and also seeing the progress of this wonderful TAFE Gippsland, and hopefully we'll be able to open it and see it all for ourselves soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Crosley. Any other acknowledgements? No? I'd like to do one. In our council plan, we identified as our number one item to identify climate change. From that identification from the councils that is important to all of us and our community, we then installed Kate Foster, one of our great team members, to head up bringing together renewable energy and looking at addressing climate change. What Kate did with her great work was set up a renewable energy forum. It's been going for 8 months. We do a bi-monthly, bringing together proponents in the renewable energy sector. The last meeting we had 60 to 70 people actually attend that forum, and it was fantastic to bring everyone together to share ideas and look at what they're actually doing with renewable energy in our own backyard. It's important to do that to make sure that they can collaborate together when they actually start their projects and get ideas and share even workers and workforce training, etc. That led on to on Thursday and Friday, we were the head people to actually start the Gippsland New Energy Conference. We had help of Darren McCubbin, who is head of the Gippsland Climate Change Group, and another group of people on the committee that helped. But what it was a 2-day conference. We had over 380 attendees. It was a sold-out conference. We had over 100 people that unfortunately couldn't attend, but they could online. What it did was bring together in person to meet instead of doing Zoom meetings, proponents of the renewable energy sector. We've seen since then that proponents have got together, they've started planning, they now have a face and they can collaborate together. We were very lucky to have the State Minister, Lily D'Ambrosio, actually come down and address the people at the conference. It was amazing to see that the state has totally embraced what is happening in Gippsland and particularly Wellington Shire. So we really thank Lily D'Ambrosio for coming down and doing that. Unfortunately, Chris Bowen, who is the federal minister, couldn't attend because of his parliamentary sitting. But Chris actually did a video to actually show all of the people that were attending the conference on the position of the federal government. And just before that video, a week before, he announced that this is the #1 zone for offshore wind in Australia. So both the federal and the state ministers are fully invested in what is happening in our area. So I thank them for their input and look forward to the future. We had 24 event partners that actually helped the event go ahead, and we thank those event partners to make this happen. And more importantly, we had 43 keynote speakers, and these weren't just ordinary speakers, they were CEOs, bosses, owners of the relevant industries that are happening in this area, plus also good success stories of renewable energy proponents that have happened in other areas as well, to give us an undertaking of what actually we can achieve. From running that conference, the exposure was basically all over Australia and even international with what we actually did to bring those proponents together. So look, I thank Kate Foster and her great team for what she has done, and the other committee members to bring that conference, which was just absolutely fantastic. And we look forward to running more of these conferences. We've got our next week is the next Renewable Energy Forum to bring those together, and I expect that'll be now not 60 to 70, probably 160 or 70 that will actually want to join that after the great work we've done. So thank you to the team, and what a great success that conference was. Item 9, questions on notice. We have none. Item 10.1, Mayor and Councillors Report. Can I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that the Mayor and Councillor report be noted.
Can I have someone to second that, please? Councillor Crosley. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just pick out a few items on a list from the 1st of July to the 31st of July. The 2nd of July, the Sea Spray Surf Life Saving Club annual presentation evening. Councillor Mackenzie attended. On the 4th of July, NAIDOC Week flag raising ceremony, Port of Sale. Councillor Crosley and Councillor Mackenzie attended. On the 4th of July, Port Albert Study, Next Steps and Contact Organisations. Councillors Marr, Stevens and Mackenzie attended. On the 12th of July, citizenship ceremony and afternoon tea for 23 new citizens, and the Mayor and the CEO attended. On the 13th of July, Municipal Association of Victoria online training, values-based messaging, introduction to framing gender equality. Councillor Stevens attended. And lastly, on the 14th of July, Shedmates Muster Hayfield, Councillor Ripper attended. And there are quite a list here. If anyone would like to read those, they can go online or go to the library, and the lovely librarians will look after you and be able to organise a copy. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ripper. Delegates Report, I believe we have none for this meeting. Item 12.1, Chief Executive Officer's Report, July 2022. Can I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that the Chief Executive Officer's Report be received.
And can I have someone to second that? Oh, there's nearly a dead heat over there. I'll go with Councillor Wood this time. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Ripper.
Now, another busy month from the 1st of July, and it goes to the 31st of July for the CEO, but I'll just pick out one or two or three or four. On the 4th of July, meeting online with Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions regarding smart specialisation approach to Hayfield. On the 20th of July, meet and greet with Darlene Henning-Marshall, Executive Director of Department of Families, Fairness and Housing, to introduce our new GM, Community and Culture, Clem Gillings, in Sale. On the 20th of July also, attended mid-year meeting with Wellington Shire officers and RAF representatives at East Sale, RAF base. And on the 29th of July, attended Council CEOs biosecurity briefing online with the Agriculture Victoria.
Thank you, Councillor Ripper. Item 12.2, June 2022 Quarterly Performance Report. Can I have someone to move that?
You can.
Councillor Stevens, would that...
When I wake up.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens.
Sit down. Oh, sorry.
You may sit down.
I'd like to move that Council receive and note the June 2022 Council Performance Report as attached.
And can I have someone to second that? Councillor Crosley. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Stevens.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This report basically takes us up to the end of the 2021-22 financial year, and it's interesting to note that we have had a very successful financial year. I note that, for instance, that we completed 143 CapEx projects with a value of about $43.7 million. I note that the Council has a strong cash holding position and also has a very low debt position at the moment. So this is all very positive for the Council. I'd like to thank the CEO and staff for another successful year, and hope the CEO will pass on to our accounting staff the good work that they have done.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll do that, and just note that we achieved 81% of the CapEx program.
Yes, indeed, as I was aware of that. Thank you, Mr. CEO. A number of interesting things, like some key projects. There's been a number of projects completed, but just a couple I picked out, Mr. Mayor. We spent $1.95 million on resealing of rural roads, $1.39 million on road upgrades, $1.04 million on constructing a new landfill cell at the Kilmany transfer landfill. What is that? I was going to call it a transfer station, but it's not. It's a refuge facility. I'm not doing very well tonight. And also we spent $1.05 million on asphalt in urban streets and $980,000 in curb and channel program. And another very interesting thing for this financial year, Mayor, is that the outstanding rates have reduced from 10.6% at the previous 30th of June to 8.5%. So that's actually a significant positive outcome. So thank you again to the staff. I think we should be. I think that we will hopefully complete the annual audit in a couple of weeks and be able to present a good financial report to the Auditor General. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Stevens. I'd like to just also comment, as the CEO just said, we achieved 81% of the CapEx budget, and what CapEx is the projects that we set from year to year. And the other thing that we need to mention is it was troubled times. We've gone through some storm events, a lot of rain, but also we achieved the highest CapEx result in the history of the Wellington Shire. We delivered $37.69 million worth of projects. So I'd like to thank Chris Hasty and his team for the hard work they have done in troublesome times this year. And we have actually delivered, after COVID and after trouble with employees and so forth, the subcontractors, the highest delivered result in the history of the Wellington Shire. So a big thank you, and if you can pass on from all the councillors our thanks and the general community of the Wellington Shire, what a great result. So thank you. Item 13.1, Assembly of Councillors. If I can have someone to move that. Councillor Tatterson.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council note and receive the attached Assembly of Councillors records for the period of 25th of July 2022 to the 7th of August 2022.
And can I have someone to second that? Councillor Crosley, beat you by a whisker. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Tatterson.
No, nothing further.
Happy?
The information's in the report.
Thank you. Item 14.1, June 2022 Planning Decisions Report. Can I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Tatterson.
I move that Council note the report on recent planning permit trends and planning application determinations between 1 June and 30 June 2022.
Thank you, and could I have someone to second that? Sure. Councillor Rossetti this time. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Tatterson.
Thank you, Mayor. I note that the 77 approvals that have been granted over the period of that 1 month period, so another really busy month, and well done. I also note that the works are from across between our beach areas, over through Hayfield and right across the whole of the Shire. So congratulations to the planning staff on getting through so many permit approvals.
Thank you, Councillor Tatterson. Item 15.1, Revocation of Unused Road Licence, Government Road off Kentucky Road, Newry. Can I have someone to move that, please?
Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Ripper.
Pursuant to Section 223 of the Local Government Act 1989, Council authorise the General Manager, Build and Environment to write to the licensee of the Unused Road Licence 1501644 of its intention to open to public traffic their licence over the Government Road abutting 163 Kentucky Road at Newry. And 2, Council appoint 3 councillors, being Councillors Crosley, Tatterson and Ripper, plus an alternative represent, being Councillor Bye, to form the Newry Unused Road Licence Committee. That is established by Council under Section 223(1)(bi) of the Act, to consider written submissions/objections and to hear any persons who in their written submission under section 223 of the Act have requested that they be heard in support of their submission/objection, and 3. In the event that there is no objections or submissions or pursuant to section 407(1) of the Land Act 1958, as it is desirable in the public interest, the Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning be requested that the unused road licence 1501644 held over Government Road abutting 163 Kentucky Road at Newry be revoked, as it is the required for public traffic.
And seconded by Councillor Mackenzie. Is that motion opposed? If not, motion is carried. Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a little bit of background. The property owner of C41A, Section 6 and Lot 2, LP 819932 at Newry has requested Council to open the Government Road off Kentucky Road by revoking an unused road licence 1501644 to enable them to gain formal road access to the properties. Unused road licences are issued and administered by the Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning with the prior consent of Council when a road or section of is not required for public traffic. An unused road licence may be revoked, fully or in part, on the written request from Council when the road is required for public traffic. The owner of the Section CA41A, Section 6 and Lot 2 LP 819932 has requested Council to open the Government Road abutting 163 Kentucky Road to enable formal access to the properties, and their property does not have a direct access onto Kentucky Road. So to enable formal access to and from Kentucky Road, it is proposed to revoke the unused road licence to allow road connection to be made as shown in, and the attached, there's a map, and the revocation of the road licence does not oblige Council to declare this road on the Register of Public Roads or to undertake any road maintenance on this road subject to Council approval. Once open to public traffic, the road will remain a non-maintained road. That's important to note, a non-maintained road. The owner of C41A Section 6 and Lot 2 LP 819932 will need to construct their own access at their cost in order to have an all-weather access from Kentucky Road. So further information can be obtained from a copy of the library. Librarians will help you, or online. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ripper. Item 15.2, proposed sale of land or road, 29th Street, Paradise Beach. Can I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Mackenzie, can you please turn your microphone on?
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to move that 1. Pursuant to Section 114 of the Local Government Act 2020, Section 2061, including Clause 3 of Schedule 10 and Section 223 of the Local Government Act 1989, Council resolved to advertise its intention to discontinue and to sell a section of 29th Street Road Reserve abutting 136 7th Avenue in Paradise Beach by a private treaty, and 2. Council place a public notice of the proposal in the local newspaper and serve a copy of the notice on abutting property owners and statutory authorities, and 3. Council appoint 3 councillors, being Councillor Mackenzie, Councillor Stevens and Councillor Wood, plus an alternate representative being Councillor By, to form the 29th Street Road Discontinuance Committee that is established by Council under Section 223(1)(bi) of the Act to consider written submissions/objections and to hear any persons who in their written submission under Section 223 of the Act have requested that they be heard in support of their submission/objection. And 4. In the event of no objections, Council resolve to continue a section of 29th Street, Paradise Beach, and place a notice in the Victorian Government Gazette. And 5, Council will authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sell the land to the abutting property owner at no less than current market value in accordance with Wellington Shire Council Policy 3.3.5, sale, exchange and acquisition of land, and to sign and seal any documents to facilitate the transfer of land.
And can I have someone to second that, please? Councillor Wood. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. The proposal is for the full width of the 29th Street Road Reserve abutting 136 7th Avenue to be closed and sold. The attached plan outlines the proposal. 29th Street is land described as roads on LP 40160 and contained on Certificate of Title 123050/961 in the name of Wellington Shire Council. Following an internal review by council officers, the proposal is considered reasonable as the land is not required for current council or community purposes in the immediate or foreseeable future. The land to be sold would be subject to its consolidation into the title of 136 7th Avenue. An initial letter outlining the proposal has been sent to the adjoining property owners at 138 7th Avenue and number 5 29th Street, and to date no response has been received from either party. In proceeding with the proposal, a public notice will be placed in the local paper and copies of the public notice be served on adjacent property owners as mentioned before. It is proposed to notify these relevant statutory officers as authorities as well, as an underground power asset is contained in the road reserve and will likely require to be protected with an easement. Subject to consideration of public submissions and objections, the section of road reserve will be discontinued and the land sold to the abutting landowners by private treaty at the current market value in accordance with Council Policy 3.3.5, sale, exchange and acquisition of land. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mackenzie. Item 16.1, quick response grants March 2022 to June 2022. I believe we have a conflict.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, I declare that I have a general conflict of interest at this council report due to a conflict of duty.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. If you could remove yourself from the room.
I'm getting used to this, Mayor.
A lot of conflicts.
Could I have someone to move that motion, please? Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. I wish to move that Council note the information regarding applications received under the Quick Response Grant Scheme for the period March 2022 to June 2022 as attached.
And could I have someone to second that? Councillor Ripper. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. The Quick Response Grant Scheme aims to fulfil community need by providing a quick turnaround for funding and provides an opportunity for the community to access funding outside the community grants timeline. The Quick Response Grant Scheme supports the delivery of projects that demonstrate positive impacts on the wider Wellington community. Eligible projects submitted under this program are assessed within 2 weeks. Not-for-profit community groups operating in the Wellington Shire can apply for up to $2,000 from the free minor community funding categories, events, projects and facilities. Individuals can apply for a quick response grant of up to $500 under the individual sponsorship category. Applications included in this council report were assessed between March 2022 to June 2022 with a total fund of $31,987 provided to the community. Applications are assessed by an internal assessment panel. Each application is assessed on its benefit to the community, ability to fulfil a community need, project planning, and the capacity of the applicant to deliver the project. The panel allocates funding based on assessed criteria and funding guidelines. And just to mention some of the fundings that went out under the three categories of events, projects and facilities, there was a total of 23, of which 10 were under events, with a total figure of $15,300, 8 under projects of $12,787, and facilities of $4,400. And just to note some of the receipts, people that received the funds. Community events was the SEG Community Hub and Arts Cafe, and they received an amount of $2,000 to assist the group to re-establish after COVID and provide a monthly film viewing to community members between February and December. The Footprints Foundation held a Mother's Day Classic sale, not a sale, but in sale. And it was a family fun event located at the Sale Botanic Gardens, offering a 4K walk or run to an 8K run, raising awareness to the community about breast cancer whilst also raising money for breast cancer research. In Dargo, they had the Dargo Bush Nursing, which held a Christmas in July community lunch, a lunch to bring the Dargo community together to provide social connectivity. And in Maffra, the Maffra Musical Band held a musical concert showcasing all the ensembles which make up the Maffra Musical Band. Under projects, we had the Noah's Ark, which was the 2022 Is For You a Tasting Platter for Self-Care. And this was a strengthening of parent support program, providing a weekly group during term 2 of 2022, which was held over 9 weeks, for the parents and carers of children with a development delay and disability. The Sales Men's Shed also received a grant for an IT upgrade of their desktop computer for administration and support tasks. Robertson Beach and Terrible Community Group Inc. received repairs of the existing roof to address leaks and also create and install an information board on the historical Terrible schools. And under individuals, there was free, and they all relevant to the Wellington Athletic Club, to have the athletic track and field championships to be held in Sydney to allow them for travel expenses, to incorporate the Australian Junior Athletic Championships girls under 14, also in Sydney between March and April. And then finally, the Sale Amateur Basketball Association received funding for the Victorian Country under 16 Sale state team at the Australian Championship in Perth in July 2022. What this shows is that our board that delegates this, that we get delegate for these fundings, certainly have looked wide and far from Dargo to Port Albert to Taraville, and really it's, if you look at most of the funding, is to engage the community after COVID, and I think it's a fantastic result that our group and our staff do for our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McKenzie. We'll get in Councillor Stevens again. We have no one in the gallery. So, Mr. CEO, is there any online comments?
There's none, Mayor.
There is none?
There are none.
There are none. In that case, I close the meeting at 6:38. Thank you, everyone.